Gourmet Gladiator. Chapter 9 Toby vs Everyone Part 2. I swing my axe hand down at Randall as he strike up towards my face with his claws. I pushed forwards and sunk my axe hand into Randall's shoulder. He looks at with a wide excited grin with his eyes looking at me as if he just experienced pure pleasure. I looked down and saw his claws inside my gut. Ugh. You actually got to land a hit on me. I take my axe out of his shoulder as he takes his claws out of my stomach. I fall down onto one knee as blood kept running down my body. Randall's hair wraps itself around his wounds and acts like a bandage. Randall looks at me and with cheerfulness in his tone he says, "Looks like you're not the hero of this story. And you had so much potential. I don't give a damn anymore." I look at him and with a scowl I state, "I don't give a damn. You're just a legal cannibal with a half-ass ability. And now since you just touched me you don't understand what I can do now." A rush of power flows through me as my axe hand explodes into chips revealing my normal hand. With cannibal powers I can only imagine what you can do if you aim to kill. But now you'll see your power boosted out of your imagination's capability. My hair elongates and begins to wrap itself around me. I extend out on finger and my nail grew into a giant blade. I cut my hair back to normal lengths. The hair that was on my body began to weave itself into a suit. Now your demise is just around the corner. Randall runs towards me with his claws at his side. My nail grew larger and then through twisting and curling my nails became claw gauntlets. The hair around my body was stitching up the holes in my stomach. I couldn't stand because I was trying to focus on anything else besides the great pain that was pulsating through my body. But at least my wounds are sped up. Randall runs towards me with his claws scraping the ground. I knew that I was useless as I was. The bright side of this is that he couldn't do anything to kill me and my arms were still mobile. As Randall was just a couple feet away from me he jumps in the air and swings his claws at me. I raised my arm up and was able to block his right hand. But as for his left hand they tried to penetrate my suit but the claws were simply not sharp enough. I swing my fist out at Randall and cut his leg nearly in half. He screams out in pain as his hair quickly runs down and coils itself around the wound. I jumped up onto my feet and as the pain was about to send me back on the ground I struck out with my fist. I could feel his jaw break as my fist collided with it. I fall down on my knees as I try to breathe. I could feel the stitches come open and the hair quickly spring the wound back up tighter. Randall stood up and his eyes were empty. His hair wraps itself around his mouth, making it look like he was wearing a mask. His voice is muffled as he says, "You're dead. Not going to show no more leniency on my half." He runs towards me and like a wild beast he growls as he raises his right hand in the air spreading out his claws. As his claws swoop in towards my head I look up at his face. I raise my arm and block his fist attack. Like a raging beast Randall swings down his claws at me furiously and without a second in between for a counter. Roots came out of the ground behind him and like whips they dart towards him with sound-breaking force. Randall's back sprays blood as the roots whip him without mercy. But even though I'm sure that he has lost more blood than me at this point he kept swinging his claws at me. My claw gauntlets were being carved into and I was now getting worried if he might just split my arms in two. The roots go back into the ground and as I stumble up onto my feet Randall raises both of his hands up in the air. My claw gauntlets crack and fall onto the ground. He whispers through pained gasps of air, "I'll give you a reason to come back to school tomorrow." His hands fall to his side before he collapses onto his knees. I reel back my fist and smile. I could feel his bloodlust when he aimed to kill me. Now I can show everyone just how much people are of worth to me. I strike Randall in his face, breaking his nose, cheekbones, and cutting up most of his face. He fell back onto the ground. I slowly walked over him and began to make my way towards where my now collapsed bridge would end. A voice stops me in my tracks as it says, "You're just as pathetic as you were earlier." I turned around and there I saw Rebecca standing there with tears in her eyes. My heart began to race as my bones felt like they were about to explode. I walked towards her with my fist clenched. "I came back because I thought I was being too harsh on you, but the minute I turned my back you ran away and now have hurt Randall really bad." She walks towards me with her eyes filling up with her tears. Why, her yelling at me was something of a new level of hatred. I could sense her heart beating from this distance. Was it out of fear of battling me? Or did she call the police and now I am done for the future? If that's the case, Helios did say to cut ties with childish things. Why did you do this? We weren't even a thing yet. As I stood within swinging range of her, I calmly state, because everyone wants me to be something I'm not. I am going to be top chef, and that means I need more power. And being with you would just make me weak. All of today only proves that. Just within these couple hours of being away from you, I wanted to tear you and that whole school to pieces. Now I can do it without losing sleep. I turned around and began to walk away from her. Suddenly, as I took another step, my heart was in mind-numbing pain. I fell on the ground, and with one big burst I threw up a little puddle of my own blood. The power enhancer must be doing this. Rebecca takes a step towards me. Get away from me. She walks over towards me and places a hand on my back. She states, all I wanted was the soft and comfy Toby. Not this. The hair from my suit shot out and wrapped itself around her neck and wrists. I begin to breathe heavily as I just try to power through the pain. The hair began to strangle her. I could feel her fight against it. Her gelatin body was doing nothing. As if she did, I would just squeeze tighter. I took a deep breath and stood up. I let go of her neck before turning around. I coldly say, Fat Toby is dead. You are now looking for the new top chef Toby. I let go of her wrist and watched her fall on her butt. She places her hand on her sore throat as she looks up at me in tears. I turn around and finally begin to walk away from her. She calls out with a raspy voice, please don't go, but her words didn't break my legs, didn't grab my chin and turn my head around. Her words did nothing to stop me. Toby, all we want is for you to be decent. Decent. What was I when I was fat and did nothing with my life? I worked out and was bullied because I was worthless and didn't amount up to anything. I was spineless and couldn't even face my father. Now I'm more powerful than most, and I should be able to show my strengths and be better than decent. Please come back, Toby. I don't want to. What is there for me to return to? A family that only now cares for me because I can beat him up, a girl that will only be with me for a year or two. And a school full of people that never did anything to help me or prevent Bob from bullying me, or even when I had powers no one stepped in to help me take down George. There was no reason for me to turn back. I'll make my words come true, even if it costs me the real important stuff like family and friends. It's not like I truly had that before anyways. Sensilariku. This is amazing, I did not expect this. He is really hurt. I think it is his ego. He once was that guy who used to cry and be very feeble. Now he is powerful but very hurt inside. He wants to be the first because of his ego. He seems to me selfish here. This is amazing. You do have imagination and talent to put important elements together to create a really good worth to read story.
That was Chapter 9, Toby versus Everyone, Part 2. We're going to go ahead and switch this over to Chapter 10.
The Gourmet Gladiator. Chapter 10 Toby vs. Everyone Part 3. The rain stops and the clouds separate on the other side of the park where Rebecca's words could no longer be heard. My body was feeling heavy as the powers of both my parents and Randall began to wear out. I made the suit tighten itself, and then as I came to a street I quickly ran across and into an abandoned construction site. I sit behind a metal fence trying to rest. From out behind a few metal beams, men and women that were wearing ragged and dirty clothes walk out and look at me in awe. A woman wearing a heavy brown jacket and baggy black pants walks up to me. She was pretty underneath all that grime and dirt. She asks, "Hello, sir. Why are you here?" I look at her with sweat now pouring out of me. I say, "Because life sucks. That's why I came here." "What about you?" She looked at me and was in other words startled at my response. "Listen, all I have on me is a couple $100. Can I ask for two simple things from you?" I take out my wallet. I pull out around $300 and hand it to the lady. She takes my money and looks at me. I need alcohol and a sleeping bag or whatever makes a bed. Oh, and I need bandages. After that, keep whatever is left over. She looks back towards the other homeless people there. She looks back at me and says, "Okay, but you have to answer a few of my questions." Weakly I ask, "I'm only looking to heal my wounds and rest, so if it is alright with you, can your questions wait?" She looks at me with an eyebrow raised. She says, "Oh, I guess you're getting robbed." She stands up and this makes me panic. I say, "Ask away." She turns back around and sits on the ground in front of me. She asks, "Why are you wounded and are you gonna be a problem to the rest of us already living here?" I was in a fight and was stabbed multiple times. And no, I will not be a threat to you or anyone else for the time being here. Now, if that is all, can you please help me? The lady puts the money in her back pocket and hovers her hand over my stomach. "Thanks for the money. This will help a lot of people here. Maybe now we can all have a warm meal." Her hands glow yellow as what looks like dust falls from her palms. My wounds begin to heal and suddenly my body felt as if it was in its prime. I place my hand on her shoulder and smile as I say, "Thank you. But that is all I will need." The lady backs up and looks at me with curiosity. I stand up and point my hands at myself. My hands glow pure white and launch white spores at me. My muscles began to grow as my body was beginning to mold into a perfectly chiseled and beastly body. My suit damn near tears as my muscles press up against it. Now this was some healing power. The lady and the rest of the homeless people look at me in wonder. The lady asks, "Who are you?" I look at her and smile as I say, "Call me Toby. What about you and the rest of your crew?" She walks up to me and says, "My name is Roxy. I'm the doctor here that makes sure that the rest of these people can live another day. I'll show you around, kid." She motions me to follow her by hand. I decided to follow her around the construction site. There were tents put up everywhere with bins lit up with junk inside of them. The first stop that I and Roxy come by is a huge green tent with one man sitting in it. He was more ragged and looked as if he hadn't shaved and showered in years. This man would be the muscle around here. Say hi to Luke. This man was muscular. He was fat and on top of that he looked as if he was in his mid-30s at least. Luke looks at me and stands up. He cheerfully says, "Hello. What is your name?" I look at him and extend my hand to shake him. I politely say, "My name is Toby. But if I may ask, how are you the muscles around here?" Luke shakes my hand as his eyes glow yellow. Black hair sprouted out from his long sleeve as his hands became more like beasts. His teeth became sharper like fangs. Luke says, "I am a tank when I want to be." He reverts back to normal. The burst of his powers was going through my body. I state, "Then that must make me a whole military." My body grew as hair erupts out of my body. The clothes were taking all the stress it could as my teeth grew and my nails sharpen into daggers. My mouth breaks as it morphs into a muzzle. Now this is power. My legs feel like they can catch up to a speeding train. Luke and Roxy look at me in surprise. I see that you're the muscle here now. But what do you all need protection from? I revert back to normal and my muscles still feel like they were ready to transform and tear into another person. Roxy looks at me in wonder and asks, "What are your powers exactly?" I straighten up my back and say, "You didn't answer my question. But to be polite, I'll answer yours first. My power is just like Luke's but enhanced. Because I ordered the meat of a wolf with a little bit of healing herbs in it. That's all. Sir, I'm sorry to say this, but I'm like him, but better." Luke looks at me and smiles with his head tilted. Roxy says, "Well, that's interesting. I ate a healing herb too. And Luke did eat a wolf meat stew. So you know your food at least. I'll get the answers I want from you soon enough. But to get your questions out of the way, we need protection from the police and gangs who want to take over this place." Oh, that sucks. The icebreakers might want to take something nice like this place from their hands. Especially since I can take the powers of a metal-controlling person and then make this place into paradise. I state, "Then how about this? Obviously I can help. How about you allow me to stay here for a bit and I'll help you any way that you see fit. I can be a muscle and a healer that can do both of your jobs but better. So how about it? I help you and you provide me a place I call home for just a bit." Roxy looks at Luke then back at me. She says, Fine, but promise me that you won't cause problems for the rest of those who just want to heal here. I put my hand up and over my heart. I say, I swear I won't do anything to cause anyone here harm. Roxy turns around and begins to walk away. I follow behind her. Roxy doesn't turn around as she says, to the right we have the kitchen and to the left we have the camps. Pick a spot and I'll go get the stuff for your stay. But seeing that you're young you'll have to get up and go to school. Damn, I guess being 16 is still visible. A couple more years of high school is just too childish at this point. In a couple days I'll be joining the icebreakers anyway. I politely say, yes ma'am. I have a few things to clear up anyhow. Roxy stops and I nearly bump into her as I halt just mere inches away from her. I blush as her lips are so close to mine. She says, back up. I do, sir, in a heartbeat. Now I'm very serious when I say that you need to go to school. If the cops show up around here then you're out. Suddenly the feeling that I had disappears and my fist clenches up. I tilt my head and raise my eyebrow as I say, sure, a runaway will make cops come looking in spots like this. But do you think I had no reason to do the things I did? See, you look around my age and yet you're here running a place. So how about we keep to ourselves and maybe just live? I would hate to crumble a promise so fast. Roxy takes a step closer to me and pokes my chest with her finger as she angrily states, I don't do threats. And unless you want to fight against 100 people then I suggest you take what I say as commands. You will listen or you can find another place to hide. I grab her wrist and lean my face towards hers. I say, don't threaten a powerhouse that just made a promise. I don't intend to break another one. I let go of her wrist and took a couple steps back. She was flabbergasted so much she just turned around and walked away. I already figured out where to go to sleep.
That was chapter 10. That was chapter 9 and 10. Toby versus Everyone part 2 and 3. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that. It's a longer bit. It's a longer episode. But I'm pretty sure everyone will like it anyways. So please like, subscribe, and check out the other videos. Have a good day.